The Grand Egyptian Museum, or GEM, contains tens of thousands of items. There's way too much to see on a single visit, so what should you prioritize? I'm Dominic Perry, I'm a trained Egyptologist, and I'm here to give you some of the highlights and overlooked wonders of the GEM, including my personal favorites. I also reached out to some archaeologists and Egyptologists to hear what they think are the coolest items of all.
Hi, my name is Hassan Elzawy. I used to work at the GEM and I'm currently an Egyptology PhD student at Yale University, and my favorite pieces have to be the Tell el-Farqa figurines. These beautiful artifacts were found at Tell el-Farqa, a prominent pre-dynastic site in the Eastern Delta, and they date to around 3200 BCE. The figurines are 60 and 30 centimeters in height, and we're not necessarily sure if they depict the same person or two different rulers. And apart from their distinctive artistic style, what makes these pieces really unique is that their eyes were outlined with lapis lazuli, which was only sourced from modern-day Afghanistan. And this shows how far trade relations stretched in the ancient world.
We'll start with a headliner, the treasures of Tutankhamun. One of the great things about this collection is that it represents 99% of the items found in the tomb. A couple of things are too fragile to go on display, or they might be in traveling exhibitions around the world. But for the most part, if it was in the chambers, it's here in these galleries. I recommend finding this one. You could easily walk past this dagger, but don't, because it's really cool. It's unusual for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the blade is made of iron, which wasn't common in the Egyptian arsenal around the time that Tutankhamun lived. Even stranger, modern scans of the dagger show that it wasn't actually forged in the Nile Valley. Instead, it probably comes from northern Iraq, a region that the Egyptians knew as Nakharina. This was part of a kingdom that modern scholars call Mitanni. They had fought the Egyptians in days past, but by the time of Tutankhamun there was peace between the two empires. The kings of Mitanni even sent gifts to the pharaonic court. And what's cool is that one of these gifts was recorded in a letter, which describes a dagger with a blade of iron and a crystal inlaid in the handle. This dagger might be that item. We can't prove that 100%, but if it's accurate, Tutankhamun went to his grave with a very expensive diplomatic gift. Definitely don't miss Tutankhamun's throne. It is quite a famous piece, but there's a couple of details that are worth checking out if you're an enthusiast. Firstly, look on the right armrest. When the boy king first came to power, his name was actually Tut-Ankh-Aten, or living image of the sun disk. It's a whole thing to do with his predecessors, Akhenaten and Nefertiti, but you can still see the original name on this armrest. It's a cool leftover from the previous regime and religious policy, and even after he rebranded as Tutankhamun, they just never updated the throne. If you're into mythology, tales of gods and goddesses, go and find this shrine of Tutankhamun. Inside, on the back wall, you can find an image of a cow and columns of hieroglyphs. These record a story often known as the Book of the Celestial Cow, or the destruction of mankind. It tells of an age when Ra ruled upon the earth, but humanity rebelled against him. And in his anger, Ra dispatched the cow goddess Hathor to punish humans with violence. Hathor got really into her work, and she transformed into the goddess Sekhmet. Ra tried to bring her back, but Sekhmet refused. In the end, the gods had to trick Sekhmet by getting her drunk in order to bring her home. It's a really cool chapter in Egyptian mythology, and what's interesting is that this shrine of Tutankhamun is the first recorded appearance in the historical record. Super cool. One last Tutankhamun item. This one is my personal favorite in the entire collection. It's a large Shabti donated by one of the king's officials, a man named Maya. Maya was in charge of the treasury and also overseer of royal building projects. There's a pretty good chance that it was Maya who organized the tomb and treasures of Tutankhamun. Maya donated this Shabti to the burial of Tutankhamun. One of the reasons I like it so much is the story it facilitates. If you visit the necropolis of Saqqara, just south of Cairo, you can actually go and see Maya's tomb, where he was buried along with his wife Merit. And if you go to the Valley of the Kings, you can also find evidence for Maya's handiwork. After Tutankhamun died, Maya continued serving in the government. And later, the pharaoh Horemheb dispatched Maya to the Valley of the Kings to investigate reports of a robbery. Apparently, there had been reports of a break-in at the tomb of Thutmose IV. Maya and a couple of his colleagues inspected that tomb, made sure it was intact, and then resealed the chambers. They left an inscription on the wall of that tomb that describes their work. You can still see that text in its original position. So if you're interested in personal stories, you can follow in Maya's footsteps, from the treasures of Tutankhamun to his burial place at Saqqara, and finally to the Valley of the Kings. Go in his footsteps and see what he saw.
When Dominic asked me to describe my favorite pieces of the Grand Egyptian Museum, I didn't know what to say. I'm going to describe two pieces, both from the Gallaries of Tutankhamun. The first one is a wooden chest painted in white with black strips, bearing hieroglyphic inscriptions with the name of the king. It's a timeless piece. It could be almost a modern design, and I think it's extremely elegant. The other piece I want to mention is the fragment of the wall that was hiding the entrance to the tomb of Tutankhamun, and it still shows the necropolis seals. It really makes me feel close to the ancient Egyptians.
Beyond Tutankhamun, you have 12 great galleries. These are arranged chronologically and thematically, so you can follow a journey through Egyptian history. They start at the beginning of the Old Kingdom, around 3000 BCE, and go all the way up to the Greco-Roman period. There's a lot to see, but here are some gems. In Gallery 3, you can find these Old Kingdom burial chambers. They have been removed from their original locations and rebuilt in special mud brick casings. The chambers are special because they're decorated. That's not common during the Old Kingdom. Normally, the Egyptians would put the decoration in the temple and chapel part of their tomb, the place where people were supposed to see it and bring offerings. But the interior of the grave, the heart of the pyramids or the lower chambers of mastabas, those were usually undecorated, because no one was supposed to see them. But in the 6th dynasty, around 2350 BCE, something changed. We start to find burial chambers in pyramids and non-royal tombs having inscriptions and art for the deceased. People like this guy, Henu, would start decorating their burial chambers with representations of the offerings they wanted to take in eternity. Maybe they realized that physical goods were not going to last forever, tombs also got robbed, and even offerings would eventually cease. Families would die out or forget their ancestor, and you really didn't want to run out of food or provisions in the next world. Decorative schemes like these suddenly turn up, as if they are trying to guarantee their health and happiness in the afterlife. There's a couple of these burial chambers in the gallery. They are exquisite. And best of all, they don't have glass in front of them, so you can get a really good view. Another personal favorite, and for the Egyptians, a deeply holy item, is this bed. It's made of granite, and it shows the great god Osir, or Osiris, lying in state. He is flanked by two small birds representing gods and goddesses, and another bird perches upon his waist. This one is Iset, or Isis, who comes to her husband's body in order to conceive new life, their son, Horus. The statue is really cool because of where it was found and what it represents. The piece comes from Abju, or Abydos. This was the center of Osir's religious cult. It's also one of the oldest royal cemeteries in Egypt. Around 3000 BCE, great kings would build their tombs at Abydos. But over time, Egyptians slowly forgot exactly who was buried there. Around 1700 BCE, give or take, somebody installed this bed in one of the tombs at Abydos. Apparently, they thought that tomb belonged to the god Osiris himself, and even today, the landscape around these tombs is covered with broken pottery, the remains of pilgrims bringing offerings for thousands of years. So not only is this bed incredibly beautiful, but many ancient Egyptians would have considered it a holy image. Go visit Osir on his bed, and enjoy a connection with a fantastically old belief. This next section is great. It's in Gallery 7, and it shows Ostraca from the New Kingdom. These are pieces of stone or pottery which people would use to write notes, or even to scribble drawings. There's a whole bunch of these, and they're really cool. like this one, of two adults who are apparently doing something. A man holds a woman who appears to be naked. She raises one arm up and places the other on her waist. It's not clear if these two are dancing, engaging in something consensual, or even something non-consensual. The body language here is ambiguous. Is the lady embracing the man, pushing him away, or simply raising an arm as they dance? It's kind of weird, but interesting. And it's great fun to look at it and try to figure out what's happening. Also, check out this one.
Choosing one single object from the entire collection of the Grand Egyptian Museum is almost impossible. But if I had to choose just one, I would choose this. And this is my favorite Ostracon from the Wall of Ostraca from Deir el-Medina. And I love this one specifically because it makes me laugh every time I see it. And it's a beautiful example of how ancient Egyptian artisans were just like us. Everybody had to start somewhere. You don't start as a master artist right away. You have to practice, you have to learn, and everybody does indeed have to start somewhere. And while this may have been a color test, a brush test, or just a warm-up sketch before getting to work, I also like to think that it's possible that this was just a silly doodle that someone made, and it made them laugh, and it maybe made their coworkers laugh too.
Sticking with ordinary folk, and also in Gallery 7, we have these wonderful cosmetic pieces. Wealthy Egyptians took great pride in their appearance, and some of their items survive beautifully. Like this wig, which is made entirely of human hair, and presents a little bit of a mullet shape. Or this makeup tube made of colored glass, this little wooden container with an animal protecting it, which might be a monkey or some kind of marsupial. Either way, it's really cute. There are also makeup applicators, combs, razors, tweezers, anything you might need for your daily routine. It's an amazing display case, but it's really easy to miss. So definitely check it out.
The piece I would like to present from the Grand Egyptian Museum is a headless statue of the female pharaoh Tamasret. This is an important piece as the only three-dimensional representation of this particular woman, who is also the latest known example of a female pharaoh. She is wearing clothing which is more appropriate to a male pharaoh. For example, the Nemes headdress, which is visible on her shoulder, and also the way that the sporran element of the front part of her body has been arranged.
Maybe you're a fan of the Sphinx. Fair enough. Lots of people are. But you may not know about the monument's later history. Once it was built, how did ancient Egyptians view this mighty statue? Well, over in Gallery 9, you can find something really cool. In the early 1900s, archaeologists excavated around the Sphinx. They cleared away sand and rubble. In some cases, they were looking for hidden passages or chambers. Spoiler alert, they didn't find any. The only things underneath the Sphinx are natural fissures in the bedrock. Sorry. But what they did find was a whole heap of religious activity. Starting in the New Kingdom, around 1550 BCE, Egyptians of royal and non-royal status would come visit the Great Sphinx. They honored the statue as an image of the god Hor-em-Akhet, or Horus in the horizon, and they left offerings to the god. Some of these are really cool, like this stela, which is a personal favorite. It belongs to a scribe named Montuher, who lived around the time of Ramesses II. What's unusual is that it shows the Sphinx in front of two of the Giza pyramids. This type of scene is really uncommon in Egyptian iconography. They often didn't show their buildings or monuments, preferring to focus on people and deities. Apparently, Montuher considered the Sphinx and the pyramids to be sacred in their own right, and he immortalized that on this beautiful stela. There's a whole bunch of these images in this display case. If you're interested in the Sphinx, this is a must-see. Now, a few honorable mentions before we wrap it up. In Gallery 10, you can find a full-on mummified crocodile. This was discovered at Komombo in southern Egypt, which is one of the sacred sites for the crocodile god, Sobek. It's a beautiful piece, and I particularly like it because it reminds me of that beautiful Borealo pelter now in the Royal Tyrrell Museum. It's quite unusual because it's an adult crocodile. Usually they would mummify infants as offerings to the god. But this one is spectacular. Back in Gallery 9, not far from those Sphinx stelae, We also have this beautiful little image of Osiris. It dates to the 18th dynasty, roughly the same era as Tutankhamun, and it comes from a tomb in Luxor, ancient Waset or Thebes. The piece probably belongs to a statue group that was set up in the tomb. They often depict the owner and their family, but sometimes the great deities, and they reflect the piety of those hoping to reach Osiris' kingdom. It's a really lovely little image, and worth checking out. Now, this bed is amazing. It's in the Tutankhamun Gallaries, and it's really cool because it folds. Apparently, the Egyptians figured out folding furniture sometime in the late Bronze Age, and they would use items like these on hunting trips, expeditions, or military campaigns. Tutankhamun's bed is made of wood and matting, and they would have put a mattress on top, or just left it bare if the weather was too hot. It's a spectacular piece, but really easy to miss, so go find it. Last but not least, these coffins are awesome. They usually come from northern Egypt, and they have a distinctive style. The design probably originated in Canaan or Syria, and came to Egypt in the 2nd millennium BCE. Basically, the coffin is like a giant slipper made of terracotta. The body would go inside with a lid or mask over the opening, and then into the tomb. They are really unusual designs, and they don't turn up very often, so they're well worth checking out, over in Gallery 9.
My one pick of a gem in gem would be, amidst all the other late period sculpture in Gallery 10, the standing statue of a man called Pet Amenope, who was the chief lector priest in the 7th century BCE. It comes from the Karnak cachette, and it shows him with his hands flat on his kilt, a very unusual position for the 7th century BCE. And the hieroglyphic text on the front says that the statue was given as a gift as Hesut of the king, a throwback to people like Senenmut, Amenhotep son of Hapu, and Middle Kingdom guys. So it's an illustration perhaps of Pet Amenope, who is buried in the massive TT33 on the West Bank at Luxor, that he was something of an antiquarian in ancient Egypt.
This is just the tip of the gem iceberg. There are so many items, we could talk about them for hours. I want to thank everyone who contributed to this little video with their favorite pieces. Check the episode description for these creators' social media links, and please give them a follow. If you made it to the end, comment Ankh Weja Seneb, so that I know you're a true Egypt enthusiast. Also, what's your favorite piece in the gem? Is there anything you'd like me to cover in the future? If so, let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching.